Hello and welcome to Rebels Reaction this week. I'm Tyler.
And I'm Christine.
And this week we're reacting to Hera's Heroes. Exciting.
So exciting.
Don't sound too sarcastic. Okay, so we're going to try something new this week. We're going to react to the episode in one word. Do you have a word?
Yes.
Is it bird?
Bird is the word.
That's not my word.
That is not my word.
Okay, so we're not going to do a whole lot of explaining, at least in this sort of introduction of our words. We'll get into it a little bit later, but we want to try to react to the episode in just something that caught our eye. It could be a feeling we had at the end of the episode, something we felt in the middle of the episode, just something that encompasses our reaction overall.
Or just a visceral thought or feeling that we felt.
Exactly. So what was your word for this week's episode, Hera's Heroes?
Moriarty.
Moriarty. Wow. Pulling out the Sherlock Holmes.
Yes.
Nice.
Lit references.
Yes. If you didn't know, Christine was an English teacher.
Yeah.
So
there's that.
She likes books. My one-word reaction was chilling.
Chilling. Ooh.
Chilling. And more of a creepy, scared chilling than a cold feeling.
Yeah.
Okay. So we'll get into those a little bit later. If you have a one-word reaction to this week's episode, we'd love to hear it. Tweet it at us at Unmistakably SW, and you might get a mention on the show. So you ready to jump in?
Let's do it.
All right. This week's episode, Hera's Heroes. Let's go.
You know of the rebellion against the Empire?
Perhaps you referred to the imminent attack on your rebel fleet.
Where is the rebel base?
I didn't know there was anyone willing to stand up against the Empire.
All right, so we have our one-word reactions. We'll get back to those in a little bit. But we're going to try, again, something new. We're just mixing things up this week. We're going to call it the Big Three. The Big Three plot points, the Big Three things we thought were important about this episode.
Sounds good.
So rather than recapping, kind of talking through the entire episode, we're just going to pick three big things we thought were important, rehash those, and then jump in.
Essentially pare down the summary to 3 major points.
Exactly. Okay, so hopefully it works for us. We'll see. The Big Three this week. Number 1, Hera saving a family heirloom.
Yeah, what was that called again?
It was called, let me look at my notes because I wrote it down, Kalikori.
Kalikori, that's right.
So this episode is kind of spawned out of being on Hera's homeworld, Ryloth.
Yeah.
And her father, Sham Syndulla. I think it's Sham.
I think it's Sham.
He reveals to Hera after Hera saves him that their home has been captured by the Imperials. And one of the major things in Twi'lek culture is this art piece that each generation adds to, and it's passed down, and it's very significant to them as not only a family, but a cultural item. And Hera immediately wants to recover this from the possession of the Imperials.
Yeah.
Thoughts on the heirloom piece as well as kind of Hera's reaction initially?
The heirloom piece was a lot smaller than I anticipated.
Yeah, once we actually find it.
Yeah, it fits in her hand. She can just carry it around with her. I was anticipating like a big poster size something.
Yeah, I thought when I saw the preview for the episode, I thought they were maybe kind of talking about the mosaic picture in her father's office. I did not anticipate it kind of being almost seemed like a trinket, which is what the imperial leader that had taken their home, Captain Slavin. That was his reaction to it too. It's just a trinket.
Yeah. It wouldn't be something that you would look in a room and think, this is a thing of value. You would just kind of ignore it.
Yeah.
But it's of immense value to the people who it represents.
Exactly. And I think it's a good way to get involved in the episode and this motivation from Hera. Something we really haven't seen in terms of, she says this is a personal mission. Nobody else needs to be involved. And of course, the rest of the Ghost crew wants to be involved.
Yeah.
So it turns into something that wasn't exactly necessary.
But it's kind of cool seeing Hera be a little selfish, because she's always so selfless and so mission-oriented, and she's so focused on the greater good, essentially, that it was kind of personable to see her be a little selfish, wanting something that is her legacy.
Yeah. So I had some mixed feelings about that overall. We'll talk about that a little bit later.
Okay.
Point number 2, Thrawn thwarting. I didn't have another T, so I just said /observing.
/observing.
So the Thrawn shows up and is his menacing self as usual. Well, he feels menacing, but at the same time, he's just so smooth and personable.
Mm-hmm. So it reminds me of Moriarty.
Yeah, there we go. Getting to your word, and this is kind of where my word comes in as well. The way Thrawn interacts with people freaks me out.
It's terrifying because you know he's so intense and so intelligent and so in control. He's several steps ahead of everybody, and you know that immediately. That him being weirdly personable when he wants to be is freaky instead of being comforting.
Yeah. And I think that's the whole point of his character.
Yeah.
Is just to super smart, super with it, super observant, and makes the other Imperials look like idiots.
Yeah. And he sets these elaborate traps. I mean, I don't think it's a coincidence that Hera's home is taken over, and literally the home that you grew up in is the Imperial headquarters for that world. It was all an elaborate thing from Thrawn, and even in the beginning of the episode, Hera's dad says all the other attacks on his insurgents were just kind of willy-nilly, and then this one was suddenly so organized and pointed and anticipated all our movements, clearly set up by Thrawn.
Yeah, and I think that cues us in early in the episode that Thrawn's going to be a part of it.
Yeah.
If you hadn't seen the preview already.
Yeah, it's true.
But the actual presence of his character is chilling, like Moriarty in Sherlock Holmes, and is very much a character that I think we're going to continue to get these sort of snippets of him, because he hasn't played a central role yet as far as being the main character.
Yeah, that's true.
He plays a part in the process, but then steps back. He kind of steps forward when he absolutely has to, but then steps back when it's not 100% necessary for him to be a part of what's going on.
That's true. He did leave and get on his ship while they were still the rebels were still in the place.
Well, and he even lets Slavin kind of take the lead in particular areas.
Yeah.
He kind of guides him along. Thrawn guides him along and says, "This is what you should be doing. Why aren't you paying attention to this? Don't you realize who Hera is?" Instead of just chastising her as some servant.
Slave, yeah.
that shouldn't be in this area.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty much open your eyes, stop being an idiot.
Yeah.
So
He's working the big picture.
Yes, he's got bigger fish to fry, which is where the observing part comes in.
Yeah.
Because once he kind of gets what he wants, he's set the wheels in motion.
Mm-hmm.
He steps back and just watches.
Yeah. Which also reminds me a little Moriarty. I mean, Moriarty is highly in control of pretty much every situation he's involved in, like Thrawn is, but he also likes to see what people will do when they're in the situation that he puts them into.
Yeah. So our third of the big three is escape. So in the end, the Ghost crew escapes capture.
Yes.
Sham Syndulla was going to turn himself in as
in replace of Hera.
Yes, in replace of Hera, because she gets captured trying to get the Kalikori back, pretty much thanks to Thrawn.
Yeah.
So as he is about to surrender himself over, and this was one of the things that I thought worked, and we might as well kind of jump into those as well, that Hera and Chopper kind of set up this booby trap.
Yeah.
Chopper sets a bunch of explosives
Yeah.
he has the igniter, the ignition key with him, that throughout the house, and blows it up at the end, and they escape the immediate Imperials. So those that were stationed at their home.
Yeah.
But Thrawn is in his command ship and just kind of hanging out in the air, and says, they've earned their victory, let them go.
Yeah.
So again, for the second time already this season, he's been in control of the situation and lets
them go.
Lets the rebels get away.
Yeah.
Again, alluding to this bigger picture.
Yeah, like he has more
concept.
going on.
Yes, he got the information he needed. He did his research. He even says he's running an experiment, and it's time for me to just observe or watch.
Yeah. I think part of it is that he was fascinated by Hera's decision, and so he's like, okay, that's interesting, good for you, and lets her go.
Yeah, and it's all data.
Yeah.
It's all information to him. And he's taking it in, and it'll be really interesting to see how he turns that around, because in this episode they were very intentional about making sure we knew what he was trying to learn.
Yeah.
And I'll just be curious how that comes back full circle, because
how does he use this information from this episode?
And I think that's what we need from his character as we look to the future in Thrawn putting the puzzle pieces together to get the ultimate defeat.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that was one thing that I liked, was that interaction, or the plan that Chopper and Hera put into place. Another thing that I really liked was just Thrawn in general. He
fascinating.
He doesn't overshadow the episode, because really the whole story is about Hera trying to retrieve this family heirloom, and kind of the selfishness of that, in a way, the willingness of the rest of the Ghost crew to go along with her and be a part of this mission. Even sort of the struggle continuing on Ryloth, which it doesn't really seem like it's ever ended post Clone Wars, even through the Clone Wars. So I like that he didn't dominate the episode, that he didn't feel like the main character. He felt like a central character, but in the end, I feel like he's who the episode was about.
Yeah, we learn a lot more about him than about anybody else through the episode.
So it's just an interesting kind of dynamic that's created within the episode, and how he plays a central role in orchestrating, again, that sort of Moriarty type characterization, puppet master almost.
Yeah.
And how again, he doesn't feel like it dominates the episode.
Mm-hmm.
So it's about Hera. It's about her family heirloom. It's about her getting this sense of being able to let go of an object
Mm-hmm.
to be able to hold on to memories,
Mm-hmm.
and just being able to hold on to those experiences and memories, and knowing at the end of the episode, she tells Kanan that in the end, I didn't really need that,
Mm-hmm.
the Calicori, but my family, my memories are with you guys.
Yeah.
So the Ghost Crew, the Rebellion, they're what really matter.
Yeah. And there are a few things in there that I really think worked, or that I really liked. One was that their mission failed. I mean, she didn't get the Caligari, or she got it, but Thrawn took it.
Yeah.
And they didn't succeed 100% in their mission, which is highly unusual for them and kind of realistic, especially when the whole time Thrawn has this big picture that he's trying to set up from the beginning. So it wouldn't make sense if they outwitted him, because he is much brighter than everybody. I also liked that Thrawn kept it and values it as a piece of culture.
Yeah.
He has this really intriguing sense of value for other beings and their culture and their art and their history, which is interesting and kind of creepy, because he also is so good at destroying people, essentially.
Yeah.
But he, unlike most Imperials, actually values those things, and so he took the Caligari, gosh, the Calicori, and says he's going to put it in a place of honor.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. That's really fascinating to me. And then two main things that I really thought were good.
Before you move on, kind of jumping off of his place of value, the sense of importance that he has for other people's culture, other people's lineage, this heirloom. He has the first time we've really seen a sort of visceral anger from him pops up when I'm just going to keep calling him Slavin because I can't remember how they pronounce it in the episode.
Yeah.
He says, "Oh, we should just destroy it."
Yeah.
And
that's the first time Thrawn loses control.
He grabs him by the collar and sneers and snarls and starts to yell, and then kind of quickly gathers himself and kind of pats him on the chest and says, "Okay, sorry about that."
Moving on.
You don't really know where that came. Well, he knows where it came from, but not everyone has. I just need to remember, not everyone has the same appreciation for art and culture that I do. So he gets back into this very
austere.
sort of smooth, austere, monotone, almost stoic,
cold, stoic,
front, and then carries on.
Yeah.
So it's interesting that we get this teeny tiny glimpse in relation to his appreciation or his reverence for this piece of art or culture.
Yeah. There is more brewing inside of him than the cold, stoic front he put off.
Yeah.
It's just kind of cool to see a little glimpse of that. And it'd be also interesting to see how that develops or comes out more the more we see of him.
I think that might be his downfall.
That would make sense as an Imperial.
There's going to be something along the way, and at least as far as I'm kind of looking out towards maybe the end of this season, or depending on how they tie the storylines in together, I would think he'd kind of be a big deal as far as the lead up to Rogue One or A New Hope and the Battle of Yavin. And if he's not the tactician within that,
something happened.
Where is he?
Yeah.
So I'll be really curious to see what happens there, but I think if he's going to slip up, it's going to be in a moment of anger.
Yeah.
Because he's calm, cool, and collected and just owns everybody.
Yeah.
Whereas this moment, gives us a glimpse into another side and one
potential weakness.
Yes, and I think is a weakness. So it'll be an interesting thing to see.
Yeah.
Okay, what else? I cut you off. What else did you think worked?
So two main things. They're related, kind of, or I mean, they're all kind of part of one thing. So as part of her escape, Hera has Chopper basically blow up her house.
Yeah.
Which is pretty intense. And she, in talking to Kanan, lets go of the need or the desire for the Calicori. So those two things are kind of her choosing the future over the past, like deciding actively to let go of the past in preparation for or response to the potential for the future.
Yeah.
And I think that's really cool. That's something that I have a hard time with. I'm very nostalgic and very sentimental, so I totally understand her wanting to put her life on the line for the sake of getting this family heirloom that's been in her family for probably hundreds of years.
Yeah.
I'm totally the person who would want to go do that. But she's making an active choice in pursuing the future instead of holding on to the past. I think that's going to be huge for how she's able to make it through this rebellion.
Yeah, I think that's definitely a good point, and one that I think I can relate to as well. We both have that problem.
Yep. That's why we have way too much stuff.
Yes.
We can't get rid of stuff.
Whether it's actually important or not. But as a part of the rebellion, I think to be unsentimental as possible, and I think that's a hard thing to do, but learning to be unsentimental as far as objects and sentimental towards people.
Yeah.
Because I think that's really what the rebellion is about. It's not so much about the worlds that are being conquered, it's about the people that are being conquered.
Yeah.
And maintaining, for the lack of a better word, humanity.
Yeah.
And empathy for others and their
sentient kind.
Yes. Yes. And their situations and how the Empire's treating them.
Yeah.
Because that's how they're going to win hearts and minds. If they don't do that, they're no better than the Empire.
Yeah, because Empire sees the world as objects to be overcome rather than homes for groups of beings.
Yeah. So I think that's a great point, and one that I think it was interesting to see Hera in that position because she seems to be so above it all in nearly every other episode.
Yeah.
So this learning experience is as Kanan and Ezra are growing in different ways. We really haven't gotten a whole lot of Zeb this season yet. He just kind of has these other just small snippets in each episode.
Yeah.
I liked him in this episode, especially at the beginning when he punches the scout trooper.
Yeah. The kid needs your helmet.
Sorry. But as we see these rebels really come into their own, this letting go of things and holding on to each other.
Yeah.
Because that's been a theme that's come up again already, is that this ghost crew is our family.
Yeah.
And one that we need to hold on to, and that's who we should care about above any other object or thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anything else that really stood out to you that you thought worked?
Something just hit me, but then I forgot it already. But I do want to point out, because this is also awesome, how when they're trying to escape, there are a lot of cool little snippets in this episode when Kanan, like, obviously can't see, but he uses the Force to turn a blast coming at him, turn it at the walker, blows up the walker, and then he just, like, gives a little salute and walks up the ramp.
Yeah, that was
awesome.
That was my last thing on my list as far as that I worked. Well, because Kanan's figuring out this whole I can't see thing.
Yeah.
or at least the physical blindness.
Yeah.
Because throughout the episode, we see him deflecting laser bolts. And,
Yeah.
I mean, if you didn't know it, you'd think he could see.
Yeah.
So it's interesting the growth that we're seeing in that, and I'll be curious as we go back into other episodes or future episodes if that growth curve continues as far as him just having no problem. Because if it doesn't show that he maybe takes a step back or two, or we get into more of detail, he's maybe more of a central character in an episode and he doesn't act that same way, then I'll go back to this episode and say that didn't work for me.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Because yes, in this episode it totally works, and yes, when he uses the Force to redirect the rocket launcher into the walker, totally awesome.
Yeah.
And then just that nonchalant sort of, okay,
yeah,
see you later. Was one of the highlights of the episode for me. But something that really...
It needs to continue or it was wrong.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. My thought that just occurred to me is that I would be really interested to see if he becomes an entirely new form of Jedi and an entirely more powerful type of Jedi than he was before, because he's focused so much on the Force. He's so dependent on the Force now rather than being dependent on his sight.
Yeah.
He's able to really channel the Force in a way that he never was able to before because of this.
Yeah, I think in terms of his Force powers, he's definitely growing, and Bendu helps him a lot with that. And this whole sort of gray area that Bendu sits in is, I think, going to influence Kanan, maybe not so much Ezra. I think Ezra's going to be on one extreme or the other as far as his use of the Force. But I think Kanan's kind of slowly moving towards this gray area, or becoming a little bit more gray in terms of not necessarily subscribing 100% to the Jedi way in a strict sense. Maybe not so much gray in terms of using the dark side in some way, or whatever that might look like in terms of an in-between.
Yeah.
At least using the dark side explicitly. I think he's very much... opposed to that.
Yeah, he's very much a light person, but I think what you mean is, or at least what I interpret you to mean, is more the middle of accepting the way things are as the way the Force wills it, and being less anxious, less worried about everything that's going on, and less frustrated when things are going wrong. Because he has had many bouts of frustration with Ezra, with himself, with his blindness. A lot of different things have been difficult for him, and now he seems more relaxed and more willing to let be.
Yeah, I think that's a little bit of what I mean. That definitely comes out in his disposition throughout the episodes that we've seen thus far. But there's just something about the way he's navigating through situations that seems to be apart from what would have been his training.
Oh, okay.
And it kind of goes to what we've seen in episodes in even season 2 with Yoda saying, us Jedi, we did it wrong.
Oh, yeah.
So kind of reorienting or re-navigating how to be a Jedi, I think is a part of how he's reacting to these things, and then how he's sort of as the Force wills it.
Yeah.
Something along those lines. Okay, anything that really didn't work for you or thought you could have been better in this episode?
Honestly, I really liked this episode. I mean, I enjoy all of the episodes.
Yeah.
This one, I think the fact that they didn't succeed was huge for me, because it was the first time that they didn't accomplish what they came to accomplish. And that is, in reality, I mean, not that any of this is reality, but that's going to happen in things like this. Whenever there's missions, they're not always going to go right. And this one didn't, and that's super cool to me.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the more we see Thrawn, the harder things are going to be.
Yeah.
So I would love to see and we've seen some of it already, at least a struggle towards a success when Thrawn's not there, but even at least a little bit, if not complete failure when Thrawn's not there. That would be nice to see as we get some of these other characters interwoven within the story. And at the very least, we've seen this trend of victory or accomplishing the mission is getting more difficult.
Yeah, which is cool and more realistic and really intense and emotional.
Yeah, it builds the situations up to where the payoff actually feels like it matters.
Yeah.
Instead of just kind of, oh yeah, of course we accomplished what it.
I care more about what's going on.
We beat Callus, no problem.
Yeah.
I don't know if this is really could have been better or didn't work, because we've kind of talked about it already, but Hera's rashness towards wanting to go after the Calicori. So I understand it from the standpoint of I'm similar. I don't know if I would have put my life on the line for something that my family has, but I understand that drive. But it seems so out of character for Hera. We haven't experienced anything like that in her character thus far. So that seemed out of the ordinary, at least for the most part for me. So
yeah, it was definitely
I think they
unusual
could
for her.
transition that a little bit better. I think
give it a glimpse ahead of time that she might be attached to
something like that. I think the way they attached it to it being memories of her mother, emphasized it more. So maybe emphasizing that mother-daughter connection and drawing on those emotions a little bit more could have made the episode or the drive after this object a little bit more tangible for me. Yeah,
which they've talked about her and her mother before, but it's been a while since that has been brought up.
Yeah. So I think it's especially at the end of the episode when she just kind of shrugs it off like, I didn't need it.
Yeah, I guess it's okay kind of thing.
Yeah. So I think that was what I kind of had the hardest time with. Other than that, I thought it was a strong episode overall.
Yeah.
And again, I'm really excited to see how they continue to build Thrawn.
Yeah, he's so cool.
Because
terrifying.
Yeah, I mean the episode was about him, but it wasn't about him, and it's really going to be interesting. And that's as we get into the end of our discussion this evening, that's my final thought. Is I can't wait to see how Thrawn develops, because he's cold, he's calculating. We see this glimpse of emotional sort of irrationality in him, and that's something, granted, we've seen him in like 2 episodes so far, so we're not super familiar with him, but to be very much one way for the entire time we've seen him as far as Rebels goes and new canon, or canon, not Legends, to suddenly get this, all of a sudden everything changes and then we're back. So I'm excited to see how that develops, how he continues to, he's getting puzzle pieces, he's getting information, and I'd love to see opportunities for those things to come full circle, and not just all at once in a single episode, but maybe periodically as we see him in an arc, that he takes a little bit of information from Steps into Shadow, he takes information from Hera's Heroes, and then we see the result of it in an upcoming episode. Yeah. So I'm excited to see. He's easily, if not my favorite character thus far this season, then like one of the top 2 or 3.
Yeah. He is absolutely fascinating. And he's really cool for me as a lit fanatic, because he has that INTJ personality, which is so fascinating to see in literary characters.
Yeah. Like
Moriarty, like Holmes. Holmes is a little bit different, but very similar. And that crazy intellectually heightened personality, where they have the big picture. They're able to manipulate people, and they're in control of everything that's going on.
Yeah.
It's so cool. And then for him to have these emotional spurts is really interesting too.
Yeah. I think when I've taken the personality tests, I've been INTJ. What does that say about me?
I'm INTJ.
Okay, then
then
what are the other ones? I
think you're INFJ?
might be.
Yeah. When I found out I was INTJ, and then I saw all the lit characters that are that personality type, I thought, oh no, I'm a sociopath.
Yeah, about
but in
that.
reality, I don't think most humans who are that are sociopaths. But in literature, people tend to write those type of evil characters, and they tend to be sociopathic.
Yeah, which is kind of scary.
Sorry about that.
Yeah. Anyways, moving on. Your final thought for this week?
Oh gosh, so many, because you've already talked about Thrawn. I guess my thought will be more Hera oriented. Like you said, it was kind of sudden for her to be like this, but I liked it because it added so much to who she is, because she always has been so mission oriented, so selfless, so focused on everybody else and everything else, that it was cool for me to see something a little bit just for her. And I just really like her character. She's fascinating to me, and she's intense while still being like tenderhearted. But that's what I was gonna say earlier. How Thrawn says she was forged by the Clone Wars. I can totally see that, and I didn't really think about her being the result of the Clone Wars essentially before, but I can see how she has been affected by being in war her whole life. She's always been in war, and it has designed who she is.
Mm-hmm. And yet she still has so much humanity, or again, lack of a better word, so much humanity and empathy within her for that, but is still very mission oriented and driven towards the common goal, and willing to kind of do what it takes to be able to do that.
Yeah.
So I think she strikes a really good balance in most areas as far as doing that, and calls people out for not doing it.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. That wraps up this week's episode. Join us again next week as we take a look at the last battle. I think it'll be a fun one with Rex and some battle droids.
Oh, yeah.
So it's being dubbed the last battle of the Clone Wars. Should be fun.
Yeah.
Hey, be sure to check us out on social media at Unmistakably SW on Twitter and Instagram. I don't know who updates our Instagram account, and then I don't know what pictures we put up there, but check us out. We're on Facebook at Unmistakably, or Facebook.com/Unmistakably Star Wars. If you haven't read Carl's review of this week's episode, go ahead and check it out. He does a really good job. He's done every episode so far this season. You can find it at our website at unmistakably.starwars.com, recently redesigned by yours truly. So check it out. It's a lot easier to navigate. So if you've been to our website before and you're kind of like, I don't know where to find our episodes or our articles, we've got a lot of great people writing for us, and we're going to have more kind of joining as we continue to grow. So check it out. Cruise on over, check out maybe the older articles that are great, but maybe kind of got lost along the way. So this has been Rebels Reaction. I'm Tyler.
And I'm Christine.
And until next time, may the Force be with you.
Intercepted a rebel transmission. It repeats. It repeats. It repeats. It repeats. It repeats. Embrace your destiny.
Welcome to the rebellion.
He's a Jedi. Rebel. He's a Jedi. Rebel. He's a Jedi.